Coming up on Around San Diego, San Diego police need your help finding a man they say posed as a rideshare driver before assaulting a woman in PB. And gas prices will rise this upcoming week. What you need to know as you head to the pump. Plus, the number of gray whales migrating off our coast has dropped to levels not seen since the 1970s. What's contributing to their decline? Hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us as we take you around San Diego. I'm CBS 8's Jenny Day, and I'll get you caught up on a week's worth of news, and we'll look ahead in less than 30 minutes. We do begin with crime. San Diego police are looking for a man wanted in connection to a disturbing attack that is putting the spotlight on rideshare safety. Officers say a woman was sexually assaulted in Pacific Beach after getting into a car that she thought was her ride. So now investigators need your help finding the man they say is responsible. CBS 8's Brian White reports.
Yeah, it's been more than 3 months since this assault happened here in Pacific Beach, and the suspect is still out there. Police are now turning to the public, hoping someone who sees this might know something. Around 1 in the morning on March 15th, a woman at the foot of Grand Avenue here near the boardwalk got into what she believed was her rideshare vehicle. According to Lieutenant Dan Sayason of the San Diego Police Department, the man pretended to be her driver.
Our victim got into that vehicle. She was driven away to a different location and then sexually assaulted by the suspect.
That driver is described as a mixed-race man, about 30 years old, with brown eyes, an average to muscular build, and distinctive shoulder-length curly hair, a mustache, and possibly a beard. Investigators believe he was driving a recent model Toyota Prius or similar car.
I mean, it's the PB area down there. It's bar break at about that time. There's a lot of people out. So we're just hoping that someone may have seen this person possibly driving this type of vehicle in the area.
Police are urging anyone with information to come forward, and they're asking other potential victims to do the same.
It's horrible, it's scary, and it's not fair that we're put in these positions, but it's just sad.
Katie Baker and Katie Lutton are best friends vacationing in PB. They shared their thoughts on staying safe.
We actually just took an Uber last night, and we tried to make sure they said our name before we got in the car.
I also think it's good to always stay in big groups of people.
Exactly.
Never be alone.
You're vulnerable when you're alone. Always try to buddy up.
If you recognize this man or have any information about the case, you're urged to call Crime Stoppers at 888-580-8477. Brian White, CBS 8.
Brian, thanks. Now to immigration. We've learned a San Diego man is one of many other Iranian nationals just arrested by ICE agents. Federal agents arrested 57-year-old Arkavan Mirokoli on Monday. He is now in ICE custody pending removal proceedings. A local immigration attorney said all of the nationals targeted do have criminal convictions. Mirokoli is married with 5 kids, but according to court paperwork, he was convicted of forgery in 2001, and that was expunged. CBS 8 reached out to DHS for more information, but have not yet provided any further details. Well, gas prices are going up this coming week, and experts fear this is just the beginning of major pain at the pump. The first thing fueling the rise is the excise tax, an extra 1.6 cents per gallon. But drivers should brace for a more significant impact from the Low Carbon Fuel Standard program. It's a new set of standards approved by California's Air Resources Board last November. The program hopes to lower greenhouse gas emissions, but that means stricter regulations on gas producers. And that's a cost that will likely be passed down to consumers.
All of that is increased cost that is eventually passed on to the consumer, and estimates now are up to 65 cents a gallon per gallon of gasoline.
Yeah, and with multiple refineries closing in the next 2 years, it's expected to hit the market's supply, which would also drive up prices. One AAA spokesperson says drivers will probably pay anywhere from an extra $600 to $1,000 each year to fill up our tanks. Well, homeowners in the city of San Diego will also soon have to pay for trash pickup. At the final hearing on the new trash fees, many residents were confused on what they will have to pay and how it will be charged. So as always, we are working for you to clear up any confusion. So fees do start July 1st. Then starting on July 15th, you'll choose which one of the 3 bundles you want. Bundle 1 costs about $33 per month. That gets you a 35-gallon trash bin. Bundle 2 costs $39 with a 65-gallon bin, and bundle 3 then is $44 for a 95-gallon bin. The new bins will arrive, and then the increased fees start in October. If you don't choose, you will automatically get the largest containers. This trash fee is expected to generate $140 million to help fill budget deficits. Recycling pickup does remain every other week until next July, and then it will be weekly. Well, this week, the San Diego County Board of Supervisors unanimously approved an $8.63 billion budget for the upcoming fiscal year. It includes $13 million to increase housing for people with serious behavioral health conditions, $26 million for substance use outpatient services, and $843.5 million toward helping people, more than 1 million people, get access to CalFresh, Medi-Cal, and other public assistance. You can read more about the newly approved budget on our website, cbs8.com. And the County Board of Supervisors also voted to advance a 5-point action plan to help address the long-running sewage crisis there in the South Bay. It calls for eliminating toxic hotspots in stormwater and drainage systems, upgrading air filters and ventilation systems in schools, conducting health and economic impact studies, and appointing a county sewage crisis chief. The plan was introduced by Supervisor Tara Lawson-Remer and authored by Imperial Beach Mayor Paloma Aguirre, who is currently running for the board's open District 1 seat that does represent most of the South Bay.
It is about fairness. It's about the right to breathe clean air, to drink safe water, and to walk your children to school without covering their noses.
Yeah, the plan calls for up to $18 million to be allocated from the county budget. It passed on a 3-to-1 vote. Well, a San Diego City Council committee also unanimously passed a proposal to raise the minimum wage for hospitality workers in the city to $25 an hour. This will be for hotel, event center, and janitorial workers starting next year. But not everyone agrees with the proposal. The San Diego Regional Chamber argues this could shut down businesses and nonprofits and says that this could increase the cost of living for San Diego families as well. The proposal will be drafted into an ordinance to be presented to the full City Council later this year. And downtown San Diego is changing with more and more vacant office space. Kidder Matthews, a commercial real estate firm, says it's a trend we are seeing in downtown spaces across the country. The downturn began during the pandemic, and the firm says that the downtown San Diego really has had a difficult time recovering because of low consumer confidence and because people prefer working closer to home. Kidder Matthews says while San Diego has been slow to recover like other cities, it's optimistic about the future. Well, the number of gray whales migrating off our coast has dropped to levels not seen since the 1970s. That's according to a new report just released by the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, NOAA. CBS 8's Shannon Handy now takes a closer look at those numbers and what scientists believe is contributing to the decline.
Experts say this is concerning. NOAA estimates there are less than 13,000 gray whales migrating along the North American Pacific coast. That includes San Diego. Compare that to 2016 when there were 27,000.
I would do anything to help you if I could, buddy.
Back in January, Dominic Biagini of Gone Whale Watching came across a baby gray whale near Torrey Pine State Beach. It was all alone, a sign Dominic says meant something was wrong.
Usually mom is being very low profile, just beneath the surface. And I flew the drone over to it and I looked down and there was no mom. And that would never happen, not with a newborn.
While it's unclear what happened to this gray whale's mother, based on a new report released by NOAA, it's possible she was malnourished and didn't survive childbirth. Gray whales usually spend summers in the Arctic, where they eat enough to fuel their 10,000-mile migration south to Baja in the winter. During that migration this year, Researchers recorded 47 whale deaths along the U.S. Pacific coast. In Mexico, they also noticed more whale deaths and fewer calves born. When it was time to return north, NOAA says only 85 calves migrated, the lowest number since they started keeping track in 1994. They suspect it's linked to changes in food availability as a result of climate change.
We had the big warm water event that was called the blob, where the Arctic warmed up dramatically. There was less sea ice than ever before. When there's no sea ice, the algae that basically forms on the bottom of the sea ice doesn't have a time to develop.
The gray whale population has encountered reductions before, but never to this extent. And while historically their numbers have rebounded, for example, after commercial whaling was banned, experts are worried they may not be able to this time.
The reason the gray whale population declined is we killed them all. So we just stopped killing them. They had a chance to recover. But this time around, it's a much more macro issue because the problem is their environment is changing at such a rapid pace that many of the whales haven't figured out how to adjust to it yet.
As for other types of whales, they feed closer to the water's surface and eat different foods in various places, so they're able to thrive unlike their gray counterparts.
In 2018, when you would leave the harbor from Mission Bay, you would actually have to actively try to not run into a gray whale because there was so many out here. And now this past year, it was a lot harder than it's ever been.
Shanna Handy, CBS 8.
They are incredible. Wishing them well. Coming up, we are getting a behind-the-scenes look at how SDG&E is preparing for peak fire season. Well, NASCAR may be soon coming to the streets of San Diego. The Athletic reports that the city and NASCAR are nearing a deal that could bring the Cup Series to downtown as early as next year. If finalized, the race would be right on the city streets, not on a traditional speedway. A former NASCAR driver, now living in Escondido, says this would be great for San Diegans.
I think the city would love it. I think fans would come out, it would put on a great show, and I might even come out of retirement for that one.
We shall see. So yeah, no deal has been announced yet, but if approved, this would be NASCAR's first points race in Southern California since Fontana's Auto Club Speedway closed. Well, we are now getting an inside look at how SDG&E is preparing for peak fire season, which has the potential to be more dangerous than in years past. CBS 8 Shannon Handy has more from the Utilities Wildfire and Climate Resilience Center in Kearney Mesa.
This is where a team of meteorologists monitors 130 cameras positioned in high fire areas. It's especially crucial now, not only because we're heading into the hotter summer months, but San Diego County has only seen 50% of its normal rainfall.
What we have seen across the region is our fuels are drying out quickly.
Brian D'Agostino is a meteorologist and vice president of wildfire and climate science at San Diego Gas and Electric. He leads a team of 6 meteorologists who work at the Emergency Operations Center inside the Utilities Kearney Mesa headquarters.
Well, we opened this center actually on Earth Day of 2024.
Brian showed me around, pointing out the cameras they monitor positioned in high fire areas around the county. But it's not just visuals they're keeping an eye on. The entire system includes 223 weather stations that measure wind speed, temperatures, and humidity every 10 minutes. Brian's team also relies on artificial intelligence.
So, for example, our meteorology team uses AI to predict exactly how high wind gusts will be.
It's a lot different compared to where we were nearly 2 decades ago. Not only has the technology changed, but so has the infrastructure. Since 2007, SDG&E has spent around $6 billion putting 315 miles of power lines underground and replacing wooden power poles with fire-resistant steel ones.
There were 23 large wildfires burning all across Southern California, but 3 of those here in San Diego were tied to power lines. And we vowed back then in 2007, never again are we going to have power lines be the start of a catastrophic wildfire in our region.
But those improvements were done with ratepayer funding, contributing to the highest rates in the country. What do you have to say to ratepayers who question just how much they pay?
Yeah, I think a big part of the investment that we've had is resulting in the fact that we've been able to not have a power line fire in 17 years.
Despite that, Brian says the danger still exists. Just within the past week, we saw wildfires break out in Poway and Potrero. And in January, when you least expect wildfires, several occurred to the north of us in Los Angeles County, destroying tens of thousands of homes. January is also when San Diego had back-to-back power shutoffs because of dangerous fire conditions, something that hadn't happened since 2021.
So we have all types of extreme weather that are impacting our system more and more often. So we have to anticipate all of that. We have to have a plan in place on how we'll respond.
Shannon Handy, CBS 8.
Yeah, year-round for us. Shannon, thank you. Still ahead, for more than a century, the Jessup Clock stood over San Diego. So we'll take you to the Zevely Zone to learn more about the historic treasure. Welcome back. For more than a century, the Jessup Clock stood over San Diego as a timeless treasure. So as we take you in the Zevely Zone, Jeff shows us what's next for the world-famous clock at the San Diego History Center.
I love stories like these. A little bit of mystery and a lot of history is waiting for us behind these doors.
It stands 22 feet high.
In 1907, Joseph Jessup installed the famous Jessup Clock in front of a San Diego jewelry store.
That's my great-grandfather, and he's the man that designed and built the Jessup Clock. That's me with my father.
Jim Jessup went on to run the family business with his father, George. Together, they cared for the clock, which became San Diego's centerpiece in Horton Plaza.
This feels like the Times Square of San Diego.
It looks like it too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For 111 years, the giant timepiece attracted crowds of people.
This is some clock.
Yes, yes.
I mean, people don't understand the inner workings of the clock.
Joseph Jessup wanted people to be fascinated by timekeeping, which led to the placement of this little tiny bear inside the gears.
And I think it was a ploy on the part of my great-grandfather to make people stop at the clock and spend an extra few moments studying the clock. I will tell you that every person who comes and looks at the clock now always finds that little wood bear.
Concerns over vandalism forced the family to put the clock in storage in 2019, which leads us to today.
The Jessup Clock is coming back.
Yes.
After years in storage, the Jessup family's precious heirloom has a new home.
We have found not a good location, an amazingly great location here at the San Diego History Center.
After some fundraising and construction, the Jessup Clock will become the star attraction at the renovated museum.
I can hear my heart ticking. Is the clock close to me right now?
The clock is close.
Lead the way.
Which leads us back to those mysterious doors.
Wow. Oh, wow.
And there is the head of the Jessup Clock.
Wow! Jim wrote a book titled Timeless Treasures.
It is made to be a coffee table book.
It shares the history of his family and Jessup Clock with its 12 dials.
Tokyo, Berlin, Paris, New York, Mexico City.
A towering piece of history that stood the test of time.
It's going to be available for all San Diegans to see now forever.
In the Zevely Zone,
it's a one of. There's no other clock like it in the world.
Jeff Zevely, CBS 8.
Yeah, and they hope to have it permanently in that History Center by 2028. It is beautiful, and yes, time is so precious. Jeff, thank you. That will do it for us. Thank you for your time. As always, thanks for staying informed. For CBS 8, I'm Jenny Day. Take such good care of yourself. Go Padres.